Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad that you're here with us today for this roundtable on the 2020 Chorus America Commission Consortiums. And whether you're joining us live or watching this stream later, we just want to say welcome and thank you for tuning in. My name is Mike Rowan, and I'm the Associate Director of Communications at Chorus America. And we're here today to share some things about our Commission Consortiums program. We are here to hear from this year's composers and to learn about them and their work. We're here to talk about a wonderful partnership that sustains this commission's program. And we're here to talk a little bit about what this new choral music that's being created right now in this time, in this very unique and bewildering time, what that means to us, both personally and as a choral community. So I look forward to this conversation today. I will introduce everyone very shortly. But first, just a little bit about this year's program and Chorus America's history with our Commission Consortiums. So I think that we have seen in recent years, certainly there has been more and more interest in commissioning composers, working with more and more and a wider and wider diverse range of working composers on commissions, which is really wonderful to see the great breadth and innovation and work that's been created. And some choruses have increasingly had the bandwidth and the means to work directly with a composer in a one-on-one project. But perhaps whether it's a change in philosophy or the world being more and more connected by technology, another wonderful trend that we're seeing in the field is the use of consortiums to commission composers that bring a lot of choruses together to bring a new work into existence. And that makes new music and interacting with composers accessible to more and more people. And so since 2007, Chorus America has had a consortium annually to commission at least one treble work and one SATB work. And as you'll learn today, we actually have a treble work and two SATB works this year. So we're very excited about that. Some of the composers that we've worked with in the past include Ola Yalo, Craig Hella Johnson, Rollo Dilworth, Andrea Ramsey, Andre Thomas, Alice Parker, Jane Chimko, Eric Whitaker, and there's many more. I could keep going. So the composers that we have with us today and that we are working with this year, we're so excited to be working with them. This program works to make commissioned works by leading composers in the field more accessible to more choruses. And it also benefits Chorus America's programs and services. So we're able to convene the field and create resources that we're able to share back with you all. And thanks to our partnership with Classical Movements, which we'll talk about, the composers are also supported, as well as Chorus America. And so this year, with, I guess you could say, a different environment, we're making a few changes. First of all, we have adjusted our pricing of the commission consortiums. So you can check that out on our website. The SATB commissions are $500 per chorus to join in. And the treble commission is $300 to join in. We also have a little bit longer time to premiere the work once you receive it. And this year, the program is accommodating of virtual premieres as well as live premieres, whichever your situation dictates as we get going. So we're really excited to talk with more folks who are involved with this wonderful program today. So I'd love to get started by introducing them. So we have with us Sarah Quartel. Hi, Sarah. How are you? Let's see, I hope my internet connection is okay and you can still hear and see me. We should get Sarah on the line shortly. Sarah Quartel is a composer and educator known for her fresh and exciting approach to choral music, deeply inspired by the life-changing relationships that can occur while making choral music. Sarah aims to write in a way that connects singer to singer, ensemble to conductor, and performer to audience. Sarah is formerly a full-time choral music educator and continues to be a substitute teacher in her hometown of London, Ontario. Sarah, we're so thrilled that you're representing Canada this year in this year's consortiums. And, we continue to see your name everywhere more and more. You're truly a rising star, and so glad that you're with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. This is such a tremendous opportunity to be a part of this group, to get to work with so many choirs in this commissioning program. Usually as composers, we are working with one choir alone. We get to know that choir, we get to know their sound and work directly with them. But the thought of working with so many singers and being able to just make music together, it's really exciting. I'm so glad to be a part of it. Thanks.
It really is wonderful, and we're so glad that you're part of it. Deke Sharon, born and living in San Francisco, Deke has been performing professionally since the age of 8. Heralded as the father of contemporary a cappella, Deke has been involved in many a cappella projects, probably most notably to this audience, music directing for the Pitch Perfect movie series, producing NBC's The Sing-Off, and arranging Broadway's first all a cappella musical, In Transit. He has published probably at least hundreds, and Deke, I'm not sure, maybe even thousands of arrangements, and also coaches, produces albums, and performs. So welcome, Deke.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And my roots, all of this crazy, wonderful a cappella life and experiences that I've had, all of them together have come and were started and underpinned by all of my choral experience, starting in the San Francisco Boys Chorus. So it's good. It's like I'm coming back into the fold for this project. I love it.
That's awesome. I hear you, and I think I've similarly had those intertwined roots, and I think actually I met you for the first time at a Chorus America conference when I was singing, and still am singing, a lot of a cappella as well as choral music. So it's great to have you on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Karen P. Thomas is a nationally known leader in the field of choral music and performance as a conductor, composer, and arts advocate. An award-winning composer, her music has been praised as superb work of the utmost sensitivity and beauty. Her music is regularly performed internationally by leading ensembles, and among her commissions are works for the Harvard Radcliffe Choirs, the Grand Jubilee in Rome, the American Guild of Organists, and the Association of Anglican Musicians. Karen is also the award-winning artistic director and conductor of Seattle Pro Musica, and a fabulous member of the Chorus America Board of Directors, which we are grateful for every day. So welcome, Karen, and thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be here. And I love the Chorus America Board of Directors. What a great group of people. Really awesome to serve such a wonderful organization as a board member, and I'm honored to also serve as a composer to help out with this consortium commission, which it's just a really exciting thing to be involved with.
Well, thank you so much, Karen, and the staff loves the board as well. So thank you.
And the board loves the staff, I have to say. Chorus America has the best staff ever.
Oh, wow. Well, the love is mutual. So isn't that great when it works out like that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And of course, with us today is Nita Helms. Born in Bombay to a musical family, Nita studied piano from the age of 4, singing in public and in various choirs since age 5. Since 1992, she has built up classical movements into one of the premier music touring companies of the world, offering services to world-renowned orchestras, choruses, conductors, composers, and soloists, as well as taking on trailblazing projects to locations including Cuba, Vietnam, South Africa, and Russia. And Nita Classical Movements also does some fantastic presenting work, which we'll talk about later. But it's great to have you. Thank you. Thank you for joining. And Nita, I'd actually love to continue and throw it over to you, if you can hear me, for this first question. Can you just tell us about classical movements' interest and dedication to new music, and a bit about how this partnership between us started? Nita, I'm wondering if you're able to hear me, or if there is any problem with the connection. So I think we are going to go over to the composers, but Nita, we'll come back, and please feel free to jump in if you're back in and you can hear us. So Sarah, Karen, and Deke, would love to ask you a little bit about your composing background and what how that's translated and led to where you are today. And maybe Sarah, if we can start with you, but on this question, what inspired you to compose, particularly for choral voices?
Sure. Well, I sang in great choirs as a kid, and there was something about, they placed me second soprano, born a second soprano, die a second soprano. I loved being that sort of underpinning for the melody. I loved having that juicy little middle harmony part. And from a very young age, there was something about singing with people, creating something that I couldn't make on my own, sitting at the piano playing my little songs. That was just infectious. And so in my teenage years, I studied classical music. I sang in those choirs. I played the piano. But in my teenage years, I started the whole singer-songwriter thing in my hometown, playing at the coffee houses around and really trying out that kind of music until 17, 18 years old. And I'm hearing more that I want to play than I can, harder than what I can play on the piano, more voices than I can sing on my own. And so the transition into choral music was just so seamless, having been something that inspired me forever and something that was not just about making the music for me as a kid, but the community, the singing with people. And it was those relationships that really solidified choral music as something I loved and wanted to keep going with.
That's wonderful. Deke or Karen, so this question is for all of you. If you want to jump in, if either of you have anything to add, would love to hear.
Sure, I will. So I actually started composing when I was a kid, and Sarah, you're talking about coffee houses, reminded me of that, because I started at the age of 10, I think, just writing songs with my guitar and singing. So I've kind of been singing all my life in school choirs and whatnot, and then as a conductor, have worked both in the orchestral realm and in the choral realm, and have really, over the last number of years, focused very much into the choral realm, and that's where I do most of my work now. And composing has kind of followed that as well. As I spend more time conducting choral music, my commissions tend to be for choral music, which is great for me because I love it, and I think it's it's the kind of music that speaks most to my heart, as something I want to listen to, but also participate in, and knowing that I'm writing for a group of people who we all know this as choral singers, that when you sing, your soul, your body is put out there on the line for everybody to hear. Your communication is very, very direct because it's not going through another instrument, and that human connection, that very direct human connection, and then as a group, as an ensemble, as a community of people, making that connection, I just think it's one of the most powerful things in the world, and I love it. It's what gives me great joy in life.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Deke, over to you.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, my life's work is to spread harmony through harmony. And although my degree, I think it's up on the wall up there, whatever, is from the New England Conservatory of Music in Theory and Composition, I moved into more popular idioms simply to try to reach more people and spread the joy of singing, which was a core part of both American and human culture through history. And just trying to get it back into people's lives, because so many people spend their lives sitting in front of screens and disconnected from their communities. So I'm known for my arranging, I'm known for my work in the popular idiom, but underneath it all is a composer and is a person who loves writing music. And in fact, I would create cassettes of songs that I'd written and sell them in high school and whatnot. So it's really, it's lovely to be able to go back into the act of composition through this fantastic commissioning process.
Awesome. Yes, going all the way back to the roots. So all of these questions are for all three of you, but I'll start with someone different each time. So how would each of you describe your writing process, and what do you draw inspiration from in your work when you're sitting down and deciding to write something? And maybe Karen, why don't we start with you on this one?
Okay. So if I'm writing choral or vocal music of any kind, a natural starting place is the text, and devoting time to looking for the right text, and certainly on a commission piece, working with the commissioner to arrive at the text that speaks to what they want the piece to be about, and also is something that I feel a close connection to, and I feel is something that I could really work with and do something meaningful with that particular text. So that's a real starting place for me. And then with a commission work, another starting place is who is the ensemble? What sort of piece are they looking for? What are their strengths? How to write it so that it fits them very well, without being so exclusive that no one else would ever perform it. So kind of finding that balance, and then just starting, having those things in the background. Then it's always the blank paper, isn't it? You sit there for a while before things begin to happen, and you throw a lot of it away and try and keep the good parts.
Awesome. Deke, how about your process and inspiration?
I like that, Karen. It's like the canonical, how do you create David? You just carve away from the marble all the parts that aren't David. That's what it sounds like you just said. Right? For me, the thing that I found somewhat frustrating in classical choral music, particularly more modern idioms, is that sometimes the creators are trying to be a little too clever. And what I find most powerful in choral music and in vocal harmony is that emotional connection between the singers and then conveyed to the audience. Those are the most powerful performances, and those are the most powerful experiences. And that's why we return to music. We don't, at the end of a long day, say, I just want to listen to the most technically impressive or the most like bells and whistles piece of music that I own. You want to listen to something because it makes you feel. And that's what gets audiences to a concert. And that's what gets audiences to listen to a piece of music repeatedly. So for me, it's that emotional component, finding the core, the heart of what a group of singers is about, what they want to say, what's going on right now in our culture, and how we can bring people together through the sound of the human voice in harmony.
I hear you, Deke. Thank you so much for that. Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Deke, because, when we get the opportunity as composers to work via commission, which I do mostly, I really want to find something that matches not only the technical specifications, the goal for the musical sound of the piece that the choir has, but does it match their spirit? Does it match their heart? Is it something that they feel connected to emotionally? So one of the first places I start when I'm doing a commission is I listen to their recordings. I listen to the group's videos. I watch the videos. I look at what they've programmed over the past couple of years. And then with some commissions this spring, I've had the chance to interview, and these were for kids. I interview the kids and ask them some questions. What does your organization mean to you? What does choral singing do for you in your life? How does it help you care for other people during these days? How does it help you care for yourself? And when you actually ask the choral singer, what does choral music making mean to you? You get the most incredible responses, profound things out of the mouths of kids, right? And so when I'm starting a new piece, commission based, I want to know. I want to know what their organization is about. I want to know what brings them together and what makes them love what they do. From there, I go to text, and then I joke. So I joke that if I wasn't a teacher, if I wasn't a composer, I probably would have been an accountant, because I see things in numbers. I see the first 25% of writing a piece being the most difficult, torturous thing in the world, because you're coming up with that golden kernel or that beautiful piece, that idea that's going to carry it through. The middle 25 to 75, you're flying through it. And then that last 25 is the agonizing dynamics and putting all the final touches on it, and then going back and throwing out pages. And so that's my process in a nutshell. But I totally agree with what both of you have said about the relationship and the emotional connection and the text and all the things that we start with as composers to make sure it's a great match for whoever's going to sing it.
Very nice. You sort of painted this picture of a nice gooey nougat in the middle of the process.
Oh, yeah, that's when I'm my happiest. Yeah, everybody in my house knows it's going very well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think I can understand getting in that flow. Well, I can sense sort of like the connection of you all talking about the emotional connection and talking about the text and kind of like what that source is. And like you were saying, particularly Sarah, going out to find that and getting sort of some empirical information about that. So in this time right now, which is so different and so strange, what topics and themes have you been thinking about in your work, perhaps maybe even talking about with your colleagues or members of your choruses? And do you have any idea about what the pieces that you are writing for this commission will be about, or have any sense of where they might spring from? And Deke, I think we haven't started with you, so let's go over to you.
Fair enough. I actually do have a clear idea of what I want this piece to be. I feel the biggest challenge that faces us right now as Americans is the bifurcation of our culture, and the fact that we have forgotten how, from many threads, we have become one people and a culture that is richer as a result of diversity. So what I will be writing is in a way, kind of a choral fantasia, although it's the opposite of a fantasia, if the word even exists, that will knit together songs from the wide diaspora of Americans through time, starting with folk songs and songs from Hispanic culture and from African Americans, from the European settlers who have come over, all interweaving together some familiar songs, some that people might not know. And my thought right now is to have them all culminate in and weave together into America the Beautiful, with those different themes woven throughout it as it's being sung. It will be an SATB piece of music, of course, but with different lines, the polyphony informing the harmony. And I want this piece of music to say, although it won't specifically state it because it will just be those individual pieces, I want the experience of the listener to be one that is just overwhelmed by the beauty of all of these diverse threads and how we are so much richer as a culture, and our fabric, our mosaic, our tapestry. It would never be as great without them, because we do need each other. And that's what we need to remember as Americans.
Wow. That's such a fantastic foundation, Deke. I can't wait to hear this. It's awesome.
Thanks. And for those of you like the Pitch Perfect movies, if you liked the way that the end of the Pitch Perfect movies, all the 7 songs are all mashed up together, it's kind of like that, but like with a big political message. Yeah.
Yes. Everything is seems mashed up in an interesting way, so that's just very fitting. Everyone loves a mashup and like a good finale. I know what you're talking about because I've seen those movies. Sarah, how about you and your thoughts and where you are with this piece, or just your composing more generally these days?
Yeah, well, this piece, I'm getting closer. I have a text that I'd like to use, and unfortunately, I don't have permission yet. I'm working on getting permission to use it because it's currently copyrighted. But I've been really thinking a lot these days about when this is over, after the rain, after the storm, after the tumult, when it settles and we look up, what do you see? How do you approach that? The world will look different, but the beauty will still be there, but you have to look to see it. And with the piece I'm writing, it's treble voices, SSA, 3 parts plus piano, available to both children and youth choirs and adult treble choirs. So
that's great.
The text I want to use is universal, and I feel like the more life experience you've got under your belt, the more you've seen, the more you'll be able to pull out of this text. And I hope, fingers crossed, I get to use it, that it will be sort of that reflection after the storm, looking up, finding the relationships, finding choral music making together again, looking up and feeling hope. We're moving forward.
I love that. That sounds so wonderful. I'm looking forward to that day too.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that poetry, to me, it sounds reminiscent to, Sarah Teasdale's some of her poetry that I've sang before. Yeah. So It seems very neat. And Karen, back to you about your your thoughts on this piece and your work in this time.
Yeah, you asked many questions, Mike. So
you can answer however many of them you wish to, and leave the other ones aside.
I'll start off. You asked about what like recent thinking and recent works, and the most recent piece I've just finished. It was actually another consortium commission, and for a very large group. It's something that Washington State ACDA has been commissioning a composer every year to write for all the attendees of their summer institute, which is 200 or more people. So and tends to be geared especially toward high school. And so, for that, what I wanted was something that was very hopeful and uplifting and also spirited. So I wasn't going for the kind of the slow, beautiful, reflective piece, but something very, very spirited and uplifting. Partly because I think we do kind of need that right now. And also I knew that, there's a possibility this would be something that the choirs would try to do virtually, or they would wait until, things had cleared up and they were back together. And so it kind of served two purposes in that way, that if choirs were waiting, they'd come back together and have something very uplifting and spirited. If they were doing it virtually, the piece would be cleanly rhythmic enough, and it was with piano, that it could pretty easily come together as a virtual choir recording. And the text in this particular case, this was Edna St. Vincent Millay, and it was a text about being alone in nature, being up on a hill, enjoying the beauty of nature, being very exuberant about it. And so while it was exuberant, it was also actually about being alone. And I think that kind of fit really well for right now. We're spending a lot of time alone. So that's, something recently written, and I don't have a text yet for this new piece. And I'm kind of, again, sort of weighing this possibility that some choirs might choose to do it as a virtual piece. Others might wait until they're back singing together again. And so could it be a piece that works equally well in both ways? And that's kind of where I'm trying to bring things together at this point before I really dive in.
Well, that's a really good point, that we can find joy in times that we are alone. And in some cases, we have no choice these days. So it's a good thing to remember. But I'm so glad that you're thinking about both like the technical components and sort of the emotional component to make this versatile for however choruses are going to perform it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you three can stick around, I'm going to bring everybody in at the end. Right now, I'd love to turn back to Nita Helms of Classical Movements. And Nita, I'm so sorry that we got cut off earlier, but I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad to talk to you. I'm going to try to pick up kind of where we left off, which was introducing classical movements, and how uniquely as a tour company, you're very committed to new music and being a champion of that. And that's where this partnership with Chorus America sprouted from. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about that commitment and how this partnership began from you.
Yes, well, hello everybody. We've been commissioning new music since 2005, and as of this date, we've had 97 works that we've commissioned. And unfortunately, this year, 12 of the works could not have their premieres. And I think one will be virtual and others are postponed. And so that's a little bit of a disappointment, but it's very much an effort on our part. We've poured over $500,000 into this process of commissioning composers. I'm very proud of the composers that we have commissioned. My effort always as a company has been to be very diverse. We work in 145 countries, and our composers we have 94 composers, because there's some we've done more than once, from 30 countries. And I have made a big effort always to have all the various cultures we know, as many as possible, to be reflected in the new work that we help create. And so over 2/3 of our composers are women or people of color. And that's been a big effort of mine for the last 28 years as a company. And I'm very glad to see people coming more and more on board with that effort and recognition that it's time we all do more to recognize talent and the richness of the offerings that all people have. So our works are for orchestra and mostly chorus. And we came to Chorus America some years ago. We were discussing how we might, be sponsors, and really this spoke to me. It's definitely not a very direct way of sponsorship. I know most people would go directly with ads or have their name out there in big letters, but we have found it very satisfying to put music and new music as the way forward and a way for us to help and hopefully be recognized. So we came to you with this. You already had the program. You started commissions just shortly after we did many years ago, and we offered to start paying the composers a little stipend because they were initially donating their time and their works, and so we give this small stipend, and of course we work with Chorus America with a little gift. So this is our second year of doing this, and here we are.
Here we are indeed. Nita, we're so grateful for that too. It means so much to support the composers and Chorus America. We've been working hand in hand so long. Sometimes it's hard to believe that it's only the second year of the partnership, and so I'm excited for all of the things to come. And this percentage, this 2/3 percentage that you mentioned of your new music being done by women and composers of color is just off the charts. That's so wonderful, and it's great that you're contributing to such a multiplicity of voices in our field. The choral field, has also been a place for, has always been a place for inclusion and community, and you represent that so well. So that's beautiful. And turning to some of the work that you've done presenting ensembles, we've been talking about how these pieces that we're talking about today, will they be performed virtually? Will they be performed live the first time that they're presented? Classical Movements is doing a little bit to take on both of those avenues, and you have some exciting things coming up. So I'd love to hear, or really I've heard, but I'd love for everyone to hear about the exciting initiatives that you have coming up with classical music and choral music in particular.
Well, yes. I mean, we are the crosshairs of travel and live performances. And of course, both of them are severely affected by the pandemic. And so the reality in our lives is that there is no concert touring for orchestras and choirs at the moment. We are, we have several proposals people have asked us for, but 21 to be optimist, but it's looking more and more like 2022. And so given that reality, and the fact that I want to keep my staff as many as possible, we have 10. I'm just reinventing ourselves. In some cases temporarily, and some things we'll do forever because they've been such a success. One of the things that we are doing, and which has received a lot of press in many parts of the country, has been our live outdoor concerts. They're socially distanced. Our building where we have our offices is from 1785. It's a very beautiful building, and it has a garden that we have created that is very gorgeous, and we always want to do concerts there. And right now, when no one can do live concerts indoors, we realized we had the space. And when we were allowed to by the state of Virginia to have as many as 50 people, we are able to do concerts for 40 to 50 people, socially distanced, outdoors. And so we've set up this series. We did 3 concerts under the banner Sounds of Hope and Harmony, both chamber music, and we're also going to do a live choir concert on September 12th with a very small choir of 12. spanning 400 years of music. They're all going to be very far apart. We're going to be very, very, very careful, and the audiences are very distanced. But it's a beautiful setting. There's wonderful acoustics in our courtyard garden. And we have jazz, we also have opera. These are worlds that we work in regularly. And it's given a lot of people a lot of joy. It gives us a purpose, but it's also a little example. And I'm happy to say that many organizations have called us about what we're doing and how we're doing them. And there are other orchestras and other people now that are trying the same, small outdoor concerts. We've been very fortunate with the artists that we have. And really, the audiences are so thirsty for live music. And it's shattering for all of us that we can't go to concerts. It's worse for the artists not to perform live. And there's so many artists, we're besieged by so many to add on concerts. And so it's been really, really fulfilling. We can only sell that many tickets. We do pay the artists. So you can imagine this is not for profit. There's no way you can make money on this. But we devote our time to this. We do sell tickets and we pay the artists, and we're sold out almost every concert. And so we have 21 in total. And that Sounds of Hope and Harmony, and we were delighted to be covered by the Wall Street Journal recently, of course, the Washington Post many times, lots of radio stations. So that's been a great joy. The other thing I think you referred to and played a little music from Armenia earlier today is our first virtual festival. We've had festivals since 2002 and 4 continents, in South Africa and in Prague and in South America, and of course Washington, D.C. with our Serenade Choral Festival. And we are co-producing a festival which is called Vox Virtual. That's August 22nd to 29th. And it's the most amazing 10 ensembles. I mean, there are so many great choirs in the world. We're so happy with the lineup that we have. We might do this again, and of course, have more choirs. But it's basically 3 concerts streamed live. We already have about 250,000 people that are showing the concerts on Watch. So we're on many platforms. It's a sense of community. All the choirs are sharing their music. So that's why it's unique. It's unique because we invented it virtually and we are all sharing our music. So all the concerts are broadcast by all the groups. We are also offering workshops. This is an idea so that we could bring some income to the choirs. And it's very inexpensive, but they're so interesting. We have ensembles we have Gustavi from Georgia, which is an ancient polyphony tradition that goes back thousands of years. We have Cantus from Minnesota. We have Isaac Cates and Ordain, which is just an incredible group that took Mozart's Lacrimosa from his Requiem and turned it to this gospel sound that is so exhilarating, and was a huge success at ACBA, and so on. We have the Swingles that burst into the acapella scene. We have Olga, which is the ensemble that actually dreamt up this thing and has appeared at the Serenade Festival, which actually came to us about it. It's their brainchild, and so on. Insingizi from Zimbabwe, there's a delightful group from France, there's Accent. I mean, I'm very happy with the lineup of the choirs.
It's an incredible lineup. I'm so excited to see it. So we're looking forward to that festival at the end of August, and we're looking forward to live choral music on the classical movement's ground on September 12th. And again, thank you so much, Nita, for supporting this program through Classical Movements. And I'd love to bring back our full roundtable right now. And hey, everybody. And before I kick this last question to you, just a couple of threads to tie up from along the way. First, I didn't recognize Andre Coleman, he's behind the scenes today, wrangling all of our technology and getting people back on. So thank you, Andre, for all of your work. and bringing us all together today. Andre is leading this Commission Consortiums program for Chorus America, and so I know he's would be happy to answer any questions that anybody has about it. So thanks again, Andre. These new works that we've been talking about, our composers are in the midst of creating. You're able to register to be part of the premiering consortium for those pieces up until August 31st. So we're in August. This is the time now. So we hope you don't miss out. Please check out more information on Consortio. Just search for Consortio in Google, or it's consortio.io. It's a little unique. It's memorable, and you can find Chorus America's commission projects right on that homepage. So check that out. And so now, with everyone back together, we've been talking so much about the unique time that we find ourselves in because of the pandemic, particularly because we're choral musicians and we love to sing and we love to be with people. So I just wanted to get some last thoughts from all of you, as we all must stay physically distant so often in so many parts across North America at certain times. How have you sustained your connection to choral music? And, do you have any words of encouragement or any advice for your colleagues or others listening on how to do the same? So I didn't pick anybody to kick off this question. So whoever would like to jump in first, please go ahead.
I'll start. So my connection to choral music is 24/7 because I am a choral musician first and foremost, as well as a composer. So working with both Seattle Pro Musica and then also my church choirs. We are in regular group communication virtually every week. So on the night of the week that we would normally have had rehearsals, ever since March, we've just been meeting online, on Zoom, and not to sing together, because you can't do that on Zoom, but to keep the community together, to see each other's faces, to talk, and even to sing, with microphones on mute, to throw a recording up, sometimes one of our own, and sing along with it, so that the people who are used to singing in choir continue to sing, even if they have to do it alone at home. They are still virtually singing with other people, and we've done some of the virtual choir stuff as well. Just so that they're continuing to make music, they're continuing to learn. We're even focusing a little bit more on learning and musicianship skills than we might if we were just learning a bunch of repertoire in order to perform. So very, very actively looking for ways to do everything possible to keep the community of choral music together while we can't quite sing the way we're used to.
Beautiful. Thanks, Karen.
So I'll go next if you want.
Yes.
I sang in a chorus all my life, and I'm not a choral director, but of course we're steeped in the world of choirs, and I realized what a dark time it is and how discouraged some people are, or like many of us, we go up and down. So I just want to say three things. We're all in this together, and I think that's really important, because it's easy to feel like you're the only one. You're often alone and not with people. And of course, the light, as they say, shines so much brighter in the darkest time. Mm-hmm. So, that's something that I keep remembering. And related to that, of course, is that after, again, another saying, even after the darkest night, the sun will rise again. And so I think that for me, choral music is the supreme reflection of beauty, our own voices. We're the instrument. And I know that you composers, and I know all the singers, I think the whole world sings. And I feel like we will reflect, even in this dark time, we are the beauty that many people seek and need. And we will be, like the poets, the reflection of what this time was. And so we must remember that there's so much that actually there's a silver lining. And perhaps we're all going to be better people because of this.
It's a wonderful thing to remember. Thank you, Nita. Deke or Sarah, either of you have anything to add?
Please.
Well, actually, I have a little quote I wanted to share because it comes from somebody that I admire and I trust, who is the president of Choral Canada, Kelly Walsh, who has a phenomenal educational community program in St. John's, Newfoundland, that is an astounding caliber, but fosters such community. And this has been going around the Canadian Choral Facebook pages lately, and she said, I couldn't say it better, if choir is about singing and performing, there will be no choir for a while. If choir is about teaching and learning, growing, connecting, community, cultural exploration, and transmission and innovating, we will find a way to have choir. And when I think about my choral experiences as a kid, what really brought it to life for me? Well, yes, learning the music and singing incredible quality choral music that was put in my hands at a very young age. But those relationships, that emotional connection we've been talking about, choir in its heart can still continue, even though it might not look the same way for a little while yet, but it can keep going in all of the innovative ways that so many people are practicing choir with their singers and students still. So we keep going. Choristers, conductors, teachers, we keep going in new and exciting ways.
That thought is really expressed so beautifully through Kelly's words. And thank you for sharing those, Sarah. And it's definitely gone beyond just the Canadian choral community. At Chorus America, we've certainly seen it going around the States too. So those words really have power. Thanks for sharing. And Deke.
Well, everything that's been said has been so beautifully put and absolutely rings completely true. One thing that wasn't mentioned, though, is the power of a virtual choir. And of course, people are familiar with Eric Whitaker's work. And this is also happening on a much smaller level. I think that when people look back at this time 10, 20, 30 years from now, all of these choirs that people have created online and the little Zoom boxes and whatnot will actually be a powerful reminder of persistence through this difficult time. So it's a good time to work on your own vocal instrument. It's a good time to work on other instruments, to accompany yourself. It's a good time to learn other ancillary skills like social media training and how to use cameras and recording equipment and all of these things so that when everybody gets together, you're even able to take those skills into the future. But for those of you who are still just bogged down by the weight of this, I want to remind you that like birds, crickets, and whales, humans are hardwired to sing. We have it in our bodies. We have it in our DNA. This too shall pass. Nothing will stop us. Nothing will hold us down. We're going to go powering through this. And I think this could be actually a very powerful slingshot to get more people involved in our art form, in choral singing again, because people will have missed that human connection, and nothing does it better than vocal harmony. So these are dark times, but I think that the bright lights that we're all shining will be particularly attractive and powerful to people as we pull through this.
That is such a wonderful and hopeful way to wrap up our gathering today. And I'm heartened by all of this, and just the fact that we're learning how to interact more with more engagement through distance. So just being able to talk to all of you today is wonderful, and we may not have been doing that in the same way as often, only a few months ago. So thank you all for bringing your talents to our commissions program this year, and NITA and Classical Movements for being a partner in that all the way. You can register to be a part of the 2020 Commissions Consortiums until August 31st of this year on Consortio online. Just sign up there. And again, these pieces are flexible for if you're going to premiere them virtually or in person when you're back to singing in person. So I want to thank you all, and Andre included, behind the scenes, for being a part of this conversation today. Let us know if you have any questions. We'd be happy to connect you and find any answers to your questions that we can. So we'll say goodbye for now. Thanks very much.